Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning. Good afternoon and welcome to the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety meeting. It's 4 p.m. on Wednesday, April 10th. We will call this meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is to hold public comment. I don't see anybody here from the public to address the council, but Peter, will you let us know if anybody weighs in on the online system, and we'll take their questions or public comments. And that's your report. I thought so. All right, great. I just wanted to make sure. You can have public comment too, right? Just so you know. All right. The third item is a resolution. So first is to call an order. Second is for public comment. Not seeing any public comment. Third is a resolution to approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2024 meeting of the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety as attached. Do we have a motion for a resolution?
I'll move that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. 4 is a resolution to approve the minutes of a special Board of Public Safety meeting minutes held on March 26, 2024, where we promoted, I believe, a firefighter for the fire prevention officer as attached in your minutes. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks so much. 5 is a resolution to amend our prior resolution of number 20-24, the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety, to include the closure of Maple Street from Bay Street to Ridge Street on the 11th and 12th of May 2024 for the Zonta Club Craft Fair being held in City Park daily between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The organizers have had many more vendors asking to participate than they originally had anticipated, which is great news for us. They feel that this now marked an increased number of public attendees. They feel the closure of the street would provide a safer environment for vendors and the public in general. Now, with these larger crowds expected, I believe you have the amended proposal in your attached packet. Are there any questions about the packet or the change in this resolution? We know that for this closure that we'll keep open one small section for the TD Bank drive-through to be able to go through until they would close under business hours, and then we'll close off the entire Maple Street. But we now have a process by which we cone off so the cars coming out of the drive-through can get out onto Maple, and that's so it takes care of TD Bank and the safety of the people.
I move approval.
Do we have a second?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me. We also must leave and opening at both ends if they barricade off. We can't, are we shutting the road down completely, or are we?
Shut the road down completely. We keep one side with no barriers. We put up a barrier, and then they have to have a volunteer there to be able to move it if there's an
Right.
emergency.
An emergency, that's
Yep,
all, that's all. I was just
absolutely.
verifying that.
Yes,
all.
and that's
Thank you,
in
ma'am.
their agenda
Yes.
packet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So,
I'll then second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 6 is a resolution to approve a new event, Beloved Consignment Kids, for an indoor market to be held in the City of Glens Falls Rec Center on the dates of April 4th through April 28th, 2024, between the hours of 3 and 10 p.m. This event will be entirely confined to the rec center, but they expect up to 25 attendees a day. We thought that the 250 a day, did I say 25? Sorry. Attendees a day, so we thought it would be good to have you give it your blessing. Are any questions about the event? New event, your packets, information's included in your packets?
Is this a private business or is it a charity? Do we know what this is?
That's a good question. It came before the rec committee and they wanted to find a venue where they could use once the ice comes out. They thought that would be perfect.
So it is a private event that we're trying to utilize our rec center for more events, because once we take the ice out, usually the building sits empty. And so we're trying to bring events, so they'll pay a small fee to come and do that, to hold their event in our, in it. But yes, it is a private event. They're renting out the facility.
I have no objections.
No objections.
I
Neither do I.
Okay.
Would anybody make a motion to approve?
I will.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. 7 is a resolution to approve the Dawkins family graduation block party to be held July 13th, 2024 through the hours of 2 to 6 p.m. with the closure of Arbor Drive between Glen and Parker Streets. The event holder will have volunteers man those barricades we were just talking about a few moments ago during the hours of the block party and make sure there's ample room for emergency services should they be needed. I don't believe this is one, but we often have these. Is there any questions about the event? Do we have a motion to approve the block party?
Are we, these are no longer, we no longer need the certificate of insurance, or no? On these, I'm trying to remember.
No,
Did we change it
we
now?
don't need certificate of insurance. We leave the barricades, they close it down, they agree to leave that open, and then they don't need a certificate.
Okay,
We recommend that they get one for their own, but it's not required for the block party. So,
Yep.
okay. So move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution 8 is a resolution to approve the 2024 Upstate New York Autism Alliance Awareness Walk and Family Fun Day to be held in and around Crandall Park, including Coles Woods on Sunday, September 29, 2024, from 7:30 a.m. through 4 p.m. Family-friendly activities will be on the main field, as well as the entertainment and food. DPW will assist with picnic tables, refuse removal, and having power on at the band show. The walkers will utilize the dirt paths that are available on Jerome Avenue and Fire Road, as well as the roads to the park itself. Upstate Autism's liability insurance policy will auto-renew on 7/30, and you'll see there as attached, so that we'll have an updated one of them, those before this event, which is not until September. Any questions about the event? Not hearing any questions, we have a motion to approve the Upstate Autism Alliance Awareness Walk.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. 9 is a resolution to address a request by the Board of Public Safety to install 4-way stop signs at the Park Street and Elm Street intersection. Upon receiving that request, the city asked Creighton Manning to analyze the intersection and to report their findings and recommendations. Therefore, now a resolution is put forth to accept the report's findings and recommendations of implementing a 4-way stop at the and corresponding crosswalks. This work will be rolled into the current DRI landscaping project that runs the entire length from Park and Elm Street all the way down Park to past South Street, to just past where the DRI is going to end, past the old Sandy's building, right? So almost to that first street down Elm Street. Does that make sense? Am I explaining the current area of that? So that is part of our DRI. We got money in the DRI to redo the ground level, the sidewalks, and to redo that paving. Separately, as part of the DRI, we've chosen to go in under before that work is being done right now, and so we started it last fall, and then we'll continue this spring. I think now after the latest, I think we might be waiting for the last snowstorm. But when that's done, we've got a bond to separate the storm and sewer water all along that piece of Park and Elm Street. So that will be done. I don't know if you realize that, or I don't want to get into too many details, but when the city's infrastructure was built, storm and sewer water was put into the same system because it was probably running down to a sinkhole down by where now the water treatment plant was. So we've invested, the city has invested almost $15 million over the last 10 years to go in and separate that storm and sewer water so that storm water then settles into the ground. We put ground cistines or whatever. We don't want that going into our sewer water. And so we're gonna do that for this section of Elm Street. Then the DRI money will go to repaving and redoing the sidewalks along this lab, and that includes this corner. So what we'll do is when that work's being done, we'll put, if you agree to the traffic recommendations from Creighton and Manning, is to put a four-way stop in. I'll remind you that Elizabeth Miller and other owners in that area were saying this was very dangerous, that people are more and more pulling off of Hudson, turning right onto Hudson, coming to Park and Elm, zooming around that corner to get to the intersection by the Burger King, right? And then vice versa. If you're coming up the hill on Glen, you take a left to get and try to get around the circle. And so that's made this intersection much more dangerous, potentially dangerous. And Creighton and Manning is suggesting a four-way stop. If you have anybody have any questions about the project, we won't have to pay extra for it. It will come out of the DRI in this project that we have. And it's a great solution, and it's been requested by the business owners. If no questions, do we have a motion to address this by putting in a four-way stop at the corresponding on Park and Elm Street?
I recommend we do that, and in addition, as Creighton Manning recommended, we put in stop lines in the road, painted lines,
Yep,
and marked crosswalks.
absolutely. It's all part of the plan. That's great. It's not additional. Yes, they did say it in their findings, but I appreciate it. Yeah, it's the whole thing. That whole be all laid out anyway in new sidewalks. We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Do we have any all in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have one other thing.
Yes. Regarding this?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
sure.
this was brought to our attention at the request of two well-established business owners. Will someone now contact them to tell them that we're going to do what they ask?
Yes, absolutely. I'll make
friends.
make that call. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Particularly at a time when they're mad at me for something else. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just joking. I get to exercise humor
Something
once
you
in a while.
said or did.
We definitely will. Yeah, that's right. All right. 10 is new business. John Jenkins wished to bring forth the safety concern via constituent that describes the corner of J Street and Warren Street. And so it was stated that when exiting J Street onto Warren Street, parked cars along the curb can severely reduce the visibility of drivers. John?
Yeah, I took the call, and I made two site visits. The first was on a Saturday morning. Looking at J Street was my intention, but J Street really is not the issue because there's no parking on either side of J Street. But where I think where the issue lies is the eastbound lane of Warren Street. There's parking right up to the curb on J Street. So J Street lies between the old post office, new Social Security building, and the Conklin Center block. So that was on a Saturday. Took a couple pictures. I have them in the back there. No guarantee on the quality of the pictures. During the week, the following week, I just went and drove in a Stitchman. I was not familiar with the layout there at all. Poked around, spoke to a few people. I think the folks who've been on the board may or may not remember. I can't confirm that this issue was brought before the board previously. Maybe the city,
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
It's my understanding that they suggest to the residents, because everybody's pretty aware of pulling out of there if there's a lot of traffic,
Yeah.
which is going to be every Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday when church has service. Well, they backtrack. A lot of folks are encouraged to cut behind St. Mary's Church through their parking lot, hit Church Street, and then hit the light by St. Mary's Academy, St. Alfonso's Academy. That's not really a solution, I don't think. So I thought, based on what I looked at, what I heard, apparently there's like 25 to 30 residents who still drive. I thought, from what I looked at, I'd like the board to consider minimally I don't think anything more is necessary, but put no parking from here to corner on Warren Street on either side of J Street as you approach from downtown or as when you leave towards Hudson Falls.
Okay. Is that, do you know, did you get a chance to look, John, at the traffic manual to see if that's an allowable option for that kind of a,
I looked at it, but I mainly used it for the graphics on the no parking from here to corner sign.
yeah, great.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, we've done this before, I think. I think from what I was told, previous efforts might have been for a light there. And I think there's a lot more hurdles that you have to overcome to put a light there. And I think that's overkill anyway.
Okay,
So this is just an idea. If we can do it, fine. I'd like the board to consider it, to give them some visibility on busy nights. There's 38 hockey games more this year, thankfully, because of the playoffs. Everything else that goes on in that section of town. And these are not our youngest citizens, so they like a little comfort zone, peeking out,
Right.
turning left or right.
and that is, that part of Warren is busy in every morning. People are coming into Glens Falls, we're getting busier and busier, and certainly Warren Street is a major entranceway from points east into Glens Falls, so that it's actually not very easy to park on Warren at 8 in the morning when we have our LDC IDA meetings. We use the, oh God, I forgot the name of the attorney, Firth, I forgot the name of the company, but we have Baker, Morris, and Firth. We use their meeting space on these Thursday mornings. And so anyway, even at 8 a.m., it's busy, it's a busy route.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, you had.
I wasn't here if it did come up, any issue on J Street before. I wasn't a member of
Okay.
the board.
Yeah, just-
But I have a question for the chief. Chief, is it a state law or a city, no parking 20 feet from corner?
20 feet from an intersection, yes.
So that, would that be considered,
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
so that would be okay to put a sign there without,
and you have to take away the parking spots.
take away the parking spot and then put the
You take
sign?
away one on the west side and one on the east side, and put signs on both.
I should also mention that on the east side, there is a fire hydrant. I didn't measure out, but there is a fire hydrant in that direction. If I was gonna guess, a little further than 20 feet.
So I'm a little confused, Chief, if you can help me.
The graphics that Mr. Dickens put out shows that there's a parking spot on both sides.
All right, so there's currently a parking spot there.
On both
But
sides.
you can put a sign, no parking from here to the corner, and eliminate those parking spots.
Without doing anything else because of the state guidelines?
Right.
The law. Yeah,
All right, say that one more time. So there are parking spots there now?
2 parking spots, one on the west, one on the east side, one on the west side.
Yep.
If you were to eliminate those parking spots and put the signs up, no parking from here to the corner, that would help with the visibility.
I agree that it would help with the visibility. I guess I didn't know that if it's, so we don't need anything to indicate from the traffic manual. It's not like we're putting in a stop sign
That's,
because,
yeah, that was,
right,
that
so
might be why nothing was done there
because they were
before.
looking at a light or a
They were-
stoplight or
Right.
something added, and then you'd have to meet the guidelines from the traffic control device manual. But in this case, because there's a state law that says that there shouldn't be any parking anyway, am I saying it correctly?
correct.
So,
Shouldn't be parking there at all.
so if the board was to make a motion right now to eliminate those 2 parking spots and put up no parking, we can, do we have to notify the state then of that resolution? We can just go ahead and do the work and have DPW put the signs up.
Yeah, it'd be as simple as crossing out the crosswalks with stripes and putting up 2 signs.
Look at that, huh?
I'd like
John, did you know how easy that was?
I'd like
when
the
you made-
board to decide, and I'll stay out of
Any-
the motion
any-
or the.
Any
second.
questions or thoughts? We now know that we have an option that we could avail to us within the state law without needing anything more than a resolution. Do you want a chance to go and look at that before you make that resolution, or are we comfortable with the photographs we've got and the information?
I am comfortable with the photographs and the information.
Thank
Comfortable
you.
with it? Yeah. I would agree, that's my knowledge of that neighborhood. I used to work right there at where the Conkling Center is now. I ran a day program for people with disabilities there 25 years ago, and it was tough to come out of that intersection then. So clearly Glens Falls is much busier today than it was 25 years ago. So,
Okay.
I'll
I'll make that motion.
make the motion. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will notify the DPW.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
I don't have any other new business if nobody else has any.
Sir, did you
Want
want
to
to address the Public Safety Board?
No,
just want to listen?
Just
Great,
listen.
thank you.
welcome.
So we do have one more of old business. We have a couple things I wanted to bring in front of the Board of Public Safety. So under old business, we've talked about, we had a constituent concern brought to us by a council person a while ago about truck routes. The first question was, do we have truck routes in the city, and if so, where are we? That started a search where we contacted the clerk's office. We couldn't find it. We really couldn't find any record, although we all knew from anecdotally that they existed. I know that when I was a young man grew up on Ridge Street, that for a while there was construction going on in Queensbury on Quaker Road, and that was pushing many trucks down Ridge Street into Glens Falls that way at that time. I just remember my neighbors, my parents' friends complaining about it, but I don't remember much else. So I know that there were truck routes, and that wasn't one of them at the time. At this point, we have in your packet the Chip and Chief Smith did some research and found the documentation on your map of what are currently state truck routes, and they are the main streets. Struggling to find the map right now, but they are the main streets that enter Glens Falls, pretty much State Route 9, right?
Yeah.
And attached. So sorry. So these. There we go. So just the main route or the State Route 9. And then Broad Street, Murray Street, and Mohegan Street is the only evidence we could find of designated truck routes. So telling trucks this is where you should go if you're going through this area. Chip and Chief Smith have identified in your packet 4 more streets they believe would be reasonable. They're entrance and exits to the city that should be designated as truck routes. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Chief? Could be, makes sense. Those would be designated truck areas. So I don't have a resolution, I believe, at this point. I wanted you to see what their original work was done, and then they can, the two of them can meet with our city attorney and think about what we might be able to do or not do regarding trucks in other areas in our neighborhoods, right? The original complaint was somebody who lived somewhere in the 3rd Ward who said, you know, here I am on Coolidge Avenue, and there are trucks that are going down Coolidge, 18-wheel trucks going down Coolidge Avenue. And she said, seems like that should be a neighborhood that there should be something restricting an 18-wheel truck from going down one of our smaller neighborhood streets. Well, that sounds reasonable, but now if you, I wanted you to see this, and I wanted you to start to think about it as well. What can we do? We know that we can't, it's not like we're a state trooper barracks or a state facility that would have weigh stations. It's not like we can say no truck past 5 tons go down any side street, right? First of all, we couldn't enforce it. We don't have weigh stations. So we might be able to, though, say that we could maybe restrict in neighborhoods or ask for it to be restricted in neighborhoods past the size. One of the things when you look at that, our traffic control book from the state, they have photos of different size trucks. We might be able to say no truck bigger than this, right? And then therefore, if somebody is doing a special delivery and we get a complaint, our officers could go and check that out and say, okay, they found this person and they're making a delivery. And then not necessarily ticket, but give them a warning and let them know. But maybe one single delivery would be okay. But what we could do, though, is address anybody who might be in a full-size truck, who's now driving through Jackson Avenue because they found, or East Sanford Street, because they found that they don't want to follow the truck route, Route 9. They could get easier to cut through like many residents do. Finding these neighborhood, everybody knows to go down Lexington Avenue, right? But we don't need an 18-wheeler doing that, right? So we're not done yet, but I wanted you to see what Chip and the chief have found for streets they think are major arteries into the city that would make sense for us to add to this list of state truck routes. So there's step one. If you agree, maybe you think that some others should be added, I wanted you to be able to see it and consider it. And then also we'll ask them to go back and see what we can do to eliminate, what language we could apply that could be reasonable to help us to discourage, how's that, full-size trucks from delivering all day, every day, or running through neighborhoods in our more secondary streets. Make sense? I wanted you to see it. Please let us know if you have any questions, concerns, and that's where we are. Also, under no old business, we had constituent emails about the potential danger of a crosswalk at Ridge and Lawrence Street. I asked you if you'd all, that email came out in the end of December. I wanted you to review, and the chief to review our municipal unified traffic code thing. Chief, any thoughts on it, on what we might be able to do?
I haven't had time to check that out, that intersection.
Okay.
In detail.
All right.
Is it what you mailed about this morning?
It may have been.
Section 2B.11 says that in any marked crosswalk in New York State, because New York State, it is state law that you have to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
And you can put a sign up. In states without law, you can put a yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk 50 feet before. But there's nothing precluding us from putting a sign there. I think that was one of the suggestions that was made to do that.
So one suggestion of that from the email was suggesting that we put a
I think
crosswalk
Bob
sign.
suggested, that we put a sign in the middle.
Oh, Bob
We already have.
replied to
Yeah,
this.
so anyways, that is available to us under this.
So we could put a crosswalk, a permanent crosswalk sign highlighting that crosswalk.
Yeah, or just the temporary signs like we do in the summertime.
Yeah.
Whatever you think.
Okay. And has anybody else had a chance to look at the intersection?
Oh, yeah, I walk through it frequently.
All right. What do
Every
you
day.
think about it? And what do you think regarding what the MUTC?
I think you gotta pay attention crossing the street.
Okay.
And
I live over that way, and as I go up Ridge Road to turn I live on Lawrence Street.
Mhm.
It almost looks like, as you approach Lawrence, the way it's marked, it almost looks like all of a sudden two traffic lanes appear right before you get to Lawrence.
It may.
I treat it like a lane, because I get right over on it to make my right-hand turn. But if a car's wanting to turn left into the drugstore,
Righty.
someone might view that lane to the right, similar as I view it, but they're looking to go around the car that's
That's correct.
parking, or waiting to turn into the drugstore. So I think that's part of what we need to look at. Just visually, looks like a separate lane.
It's a horrible, horrible situation.
Oh, yeah?
I think
Because
it's-
people go around, if you're going down Ridge, headed that way,
If you're
you go
headed
around
south.
if somebody's trying to turn left and you don't see them.
They go right around you.
All right.
If,
And is there a clear crosswalk from the corner of Lawrence and Ridge across Ridge at the Rite Aid?
beyond Lawrence Street.
And should there be one there?
No.
Right? So in other words, if you did come down the south part of Lawrence Street, if we remove that crosswalk, you'd have to go across Lawrence to the other part of Ridge, and then you could cross there, and it'd be much safer, or at one of the other things. So do we think that Bob made a suggestion as possibly a highlight a crosswalk there, but that's not necessarily. It might be something to do. Should we ask the corner? Chief? Do you know if you could maybe by the next council meeting? Could you do a report on how many accidents we've had on that intersection? And then maybe if there's been even just a handful that maybe we in the last couple of years, it's worth doing asking AGFTC and even paying if we need to do an assessment of the corner, because removing a crosswalk and might be the solution, but I don't think we want to decide anecdotally, right? We want a study if we need a study, it'd be worth looking at, right? Whatever it might cost the city, a few grand to do it.
That might be the spot to do that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
based on what Chief tells us. too.
Yeah, sure. And
The issue with that is the intersection prior to
yeah,
Washington Street, there's a left-hand turn lane, and then the the right lane is to go straight.
yeah,
So people turn left on Washington, and people continue straight, and now they're up against the curb, because that's where the lane is. And then you have the lane that's now wide enough for two vehicles, people that want to turn left, people want to go straight, people want to turn right, so it's a messy intersection.
okay.
Yeah.
So it might be actually then, the way it is, being a messy intersection, it might be worth the study regardless,
Yes.
right? If we've got concerns about it.
Yes.
Would the Common Council recommend that we do a study of that, or would the Board of Public Safety recommend that
You just got promoted.
you got elected, right? Yeah, the power
No, thank
invested in me. Would the Board of Public Safety, would someone like to make a motion that we do a traffic study of that intersection to look at traffic patterns, suggested options of making that sidewalk, or that intersection, both of those intersections safer?
Yes.
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 So we have, who made the motion?
I will.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. And I'll ask Aaron Frankenfeld, you'll take notes for me. See if he, sometimes out of the kindness of their heart, AGFTC has some money in their budget and they can pay for that. And if not, then we'll contract out with through our engineer, we'll use one of the companies we do, and we'll find a way to pull it out of our safety budget. Okay? Washington and Ridge and Lawrence. Okay? Thank you. Next is the constituent emails, potential danger of intersection Notre Dame and Crandall Street. So, just so you're aware, we did have somebody that was, this is old business. I don't think there's any motion to be done. We had a constituent with concerns about Notre Dame and Crandall. We responded to them. We asked them for more information, and we haven't heard again from them. Is that correct, Chief? Am I saying that right? So we did reach out to them. Although we do patrol these streets, I believe that I'm going to work with AGFTC. I think that we have, as we get busier and busier, the fact is the city is the streets are getting busier and busier, and we have old technology. Our street lights are all of 1950 and older, right? We have and we have In our approved budget this year, we're gonna purchase, I think, up to 5 streetlights in our current paving and sidewalk CBG money. And so that's only paying for, I think we have over a dozen.
Horribly expensive.
They are very expensive, up to $250,000 a piece, because they all run on technology that we don't currently have. There is a storage room in the city right now, probably about from the table this big, that is full of old broken streetlight parts that our current electrician pulls together when we have a problem. And he goes and pulls together, and I think of the old transistor radios, and he's pulling things and putting them together. And so we've made a significant investment. But as we get busier and busier, we probably need to look at some traffic control devices, especially for the streets. Crandall, this was Crandall and Notre Dame. Crandall is one of those streets that people tend to try to run from one neighborhood to another to shortcut through. So we might need to a long-term plan of adding some traffic control devices, some calming methods there.
Yeah.
East Sanford's another, right, where you run from, you're trying to get from the, right, you're going down and you're trying to get through it. We constantly are hearing of this, and we patrol it more often. We are helping any way we can. We've had people request us to put stop signs in the middle of the street where there's no intersection, but they want to make everybody stop and slow down while going down that street. We know that we can't do that.
Right.
It's against the municipal controlled manual, but we can put traffic calming devices. So I'll bring to you this one. We won't do anything about right now, but we'll put it on the list. We did ask AGFTC, and they did do a full sidewalk and street paving assessment of the entire city. We're going to presenting that to the Common Council. We'll also bring it to you as well for your review. But I think one more would be an assessment of these cut-through streets and where we can put some traffic calming devices. They're not very expensive. We could buy a dozen traffic calming devices, like blinkers, like we talked about across from Crandall Park, right? We could buy dozens of those for one full street light, and so we can do that and start to budget for it. I think it's a great way to help us as we get busier and busier.
I spoke to this lady, I encountered her walking her dog, and her real complaint is people ignoring the stop signs at that intersection.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a common complaint in my neighborhood over there, especially on Crandall Street. It's open, they see no other cars, people regard the stop signs as a suggestion.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And this isn't a complaint, but
No.
it's time to scare the chickens again.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say if there's a stop sign there, it's going to be running.
Yeah.
If you think about how many stop signs are actually in the city,
Yeah.
yeah, so you have to find a problem area, saturate that area for a while, then usually calm down until they realize that the police aren't there anymore, and then they go back to their old habits.
Yeah.
So, at this time, with this email, I just send patrols over there to do stop sign enforcement at that intersection.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's tough, and I don't think that we can't hire our way out of this, right? You couldn't, if you hired 50 more police officers, you
Yeah.
still aren't gonna have enough to patrol every stop sign in the city, right? It's funny, we only have less than a 4 square mile, we have over 50 miles of roads in our city. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's overwhelming. How's that? Sorry. That's good. Now we'll go to Chief Smith's report. Chief.
I have no new business and no old business.
No new business or no old business. Wow, that's the quickest report we've ever gotten from you, Chief. Deputy Chief Modar, your report, sir.
I will once again concur with.
Oh, look at that. You guys, that's a conspiracy
To
there.
both of you, well, I
Awesome.
guess we'll quickly make a motion to accept both.
Yes, accept both reports. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I do not believe we need to go into executive session, do we? No. I believe we could have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.